Multiple choice question. So how do we do these questions? Just read this question. What results were revealed from the study by Professor Harris Cooper? After this, find out where is Professor Harris Cooper. He's here. And question is results, right? What results? So let's read this sentence, which is talking about Professor Harris Cooper. The most comprehensive research in homework to date comes from a 2006 meta-analysis by Duke University psychology professor Harris Cooper, who found evidence of a positive correlation between homework and student achievement, meaning students who did homework performed better in school. So his finding is people who do homework do better. And our options here, grade 7 to 12 students did worse in school when given homework. That is wrong because the passage clearly says they did better. B says they did better, so possible, but never pick an answer without reading all the options. So let's check other options as well. There was a weak relationship between homework and performance among older students. They never said anything about this. The correlation was stronger for older students. That's what they have said. They said exactly opposite to what this option says. There is a strong relationship between homework and performance among younger students. So you can see that actually it was stronger for older students in 7th through 12th grade. So we know that B is the answer. Okay. So what is the method of doing multiple choice to single answer? Look at the question. Focus on the keyword of the question, find from which part of the passage the question has been constructed, and then check all the options one by one. Any option that contains wrong information or extra information should be eliminated, and any option that contains right information and is related to the question is your right answer. Multiple choice question itself is not that important for your test because one right answer means just 1 point. So this guy did not get any point here and got 1 point for this question. Why were trigger warnings abolished? Now the keyword here is trigger warnings and abolished. Abolished means discontinued or completely removed. Now I need to find out where they are talking about this. Decided to put an end to trigger warnings. To put an end, abolish means the same thing. So why? That I need to find from here. Advance notice of subject matter that might upset students and save places where students can avoid the subjects. Until now, I don't know the reason. The university's reasoning for ending these voluntary practices, so they are giving the reason now, was a commitment to academic freedom. So it's for academic freedom. But to improve academic freedom, it makes the students not want to learn, it makes the students want to leave school, it puts students in an unsafe position. So you might be tempted to check this one as the right answer because it says academic freedom. This also says academic freedom. But if you look carefully, it says commitment to academic freedom. Commitment. Does that mean improvement? No. So I need to keep reading. In reality, this policy puts many students in the uncomfortable position of entering spaces that may or may not be safe for them to learn. So it puts the students in an unsafe position. That's why it was discontinued. Easy. Let's go to the next one. Multiple choice question. I'm not putting that much effort on these questions because, as I told you, they are not that important. According to the passage, how does the author feel about textbooks? Now, this guy did the exact thing I told you in the class. Just choose one option, although this option is not correct. So what happens in the test? When you choose one option and that is incorrect, you get 0. If this option had been correct, you would get 1. Never select more than one option if you're confused. According to the passage, how does the author feel about textbooks? First answer is textbooks do not teach real-world problems. So where is this information? In this question, because it simply asks me how does the author feel about textbooks, so I just need to look at the keywords in the option. Textbooks do not teach real-world problems, so I need to find out where they're talking about real-world problems. I believe in real life. And ask yourself, what problem have you solved ever that was worth solving where you knew all of the given information in advance, where you didn't have a surplus of information and you had to filter it out, or you didn't have sufficient information and had to go find some. I'm sure we all agree that no problem worth solving is like that. And the textbook, I think, knows how it is hamstringing students, because what's this? This is the practice problem set. When it comes to do the actual problem set, we have problems like this right here where we are just swapping our number numbers and tweaking the context a little bit. And if the student still doesn't recognize the stem this was molded from, it helpfully explains to you what sample problem you can return to find the formula. You could literally, I passed this particular unit without knowing any physics, just knowing how to decode a textbook. That's a shame. So here, nowhere you can find the exact sentence like this one, but at least you get a sense. And that's the reason why I keep telling people, like, don't waste your time on this question, because unless your English is good, it may not be that easy for you to find this answer. Textbooks teach problem solving using a realistic approach. That's what he is criticizing actually in the passage, that textbooks do not help us in solving realistic problem. Textbooks teach specific patterns that can be easily decoded. That's what they said at the end. You could literally, this literally means as it is. Pass this particular unit without knowing any physics, just knowing how to decode a textbook. So that means they do things in a specific pattern that can be easily decoded. Textbooks do not teach you how to filter excess information. This information has not been provided, although they are talking about filtering here, where you didn't have a surplus of information and you had to filter it out. They are actually saying that the users have to filter it out, not textbooks. So our answers are this one and this one. Then comes 43. What factors are true? The question is not asking anything else. It's simply asking what factors are true, and there are 5 options here. So go through one option at a time, focusing on the keyword. Fashion designers pay their attention to the fabrics because of several reasons. In the modern world, it is quite difficult to invent new fabrics for clothes design. However, with the help of accessories, it is possible to transform any garment into real masterpieces. This is the main reason why modern designers look for new ideas for trims, not for fabrics. So that means they actually do not pay attention to fabrics. They actually look for new ideas for trims. The creative uses of accessories cannot help to provide new styles and refresh the fashion standards. Fashion designers pay attention to the trims because of several reasons. Among them, trims help to emphasize the details. Imagine an ordinary black dress. Without doubts, it looks beautiful. However, try to decorate it with a small, delicate white or red belt. Immediately, it will give a new vision and beautify the dress in general. Moreover, it will attract the attention of the surrounding people. Therefore, we can say that trims in clothes help to look unique and unforgettable. Moreover, good trims will steal the show at any event. So the creative uses of accessories, where are they talking about creative uses of accessories? In this line, the creative uses of accessories can help to provide new styles and refresh the fashion standards. This one says cannot, so this is wrong. Now, the easy thing about this question is 2 options are wrong, only 2 options are left, and minimum 2 options are correct in multiple choice, multiple right answers, so both of them are correct. Both of them have to be correct because these are the only true 2 options left. Trims in clothes is unique and unbelievable, which they have mentioned here, around here. It will be better to wear good trims for any event. That they have mentioned in the last sentence. Moreover, good trims will steal the show at any event. Stealing the show means a good thing to do. That means that will be the center of attraction. That is multiple choice, multiple right answer. Let's go to the next one now, which is reorder paragraph. Okay, reorder paragraph, the answer is already in the correct order, so I will only explain to you the relationship between them. It shoes unforgettable. Somebody has asked me a question here. It shoes unforgettable. I'm not getting. Okay, it shows unforgettable. Let's go to the previous one then. Can you tell me which question you are talking about? It shows unforgettable. Which question are we talking about here? Okay, I guess now I know which one is the question. Trims in clothes is unique and unbelievable. So let's have a look here. Therefore, we can say that trims in clothes help to look unique and unforgettable. Unforgettable, unbelievable. See, unbelievable does not mean that you cannot believe. Unbelievable means so good that you cannot, you cannot believe it. It's so good. It's nothing like this you can see. And unforgettable means it's so good that you cannot forget it. And that's why they are saying the same thing. Okay, the sentences are already in right order here, so I'll only explain to you the relationship between the sentences. Traditional hot dogs are made from a mix of pork, beef, and chicken. The cuts they start with are called trimmings, pieces of meat left over from cutting steaks or pork chops. The cuts they start with means start with what? Start with forming the hot dogs when they are making hot dogs. The thing they start with, that's what they mean by saying the cuts are called trimmings. Now, I told you that trimmings must come before the trimmings. The trimming means which trimmings are called trimmings. This trimming are ground. The same way butchers chop up hamburger meat by pushing the cuts through grated metal plates. After this, processed chicken trimmings are added to the ground meat. Added to the ground meat. Added to the ground meat means first you have to ground the meat. By the way, ground is the past form of grind. You know the grinder that we use at home? That means to break something into smaller pieces, grind, and the past form of that is ground. So processed chicken trimmings are added to the ground meat means first you need the ground meat. So which happened here? So you ground the meat and then you are now adding chicken trimmings, followed by food starch, salt, and other flavorings. These flavorings means other flavorings mentioned here. So the relationship here, traditional hot dogs are made from a mix of pork, beef, and chicken. That's a general sentence. Then how does it start? First, you cut meat into small pieces. They are called trimmings. Then trimmings are ground. And then after you have ground the trimmings, you add chicken trimmings, and then you add the flavors. Now, second one, the action begins at the limestone quarry. The limestone near the surface has a high content of the minerals, silica, iron, aluminum oxide. At the limestone quarry, near the surface, deeper down. So surface, then deeper. Deeper down means below the surface. The limestone is more pure, containing less of those minerals and more calcium carbonate. Up to this, even this guy has done it correctly, but he has made some mistakes here. The plant uses both types of rock. Now see, it says both types of rock, but if I say both types of rock here, don't I need two types of rock in this sentence? Yes, and then only I can say both types of rock. But this sentence is not talking about any two types of rock. So definitely this sentence where I say uses both types of rock should come after a sentence where I'm talking about two types of rock. Isn't it? And in which sentence they're talking about two types of rock, that I need to find. But before I go into that, let's look at the other combinations here. What mistake this guy has done here? Workers drill holes in the rock wall in which they plant powerful explosives. In the rock wall. Are we talking about any rock wall yet? No. In which sentence we are talking about rock wall? This. The plant uses both types of rock, altering the proportion to make different types of cement. So that means workers drills hole in the rock wall in which they plant powerful explosives. So which rock wall they're talking about? The rock wall they have mentioned here. Both types of rock altering the proportion. For safety, the workers have to position themselves behind the area they are blasting. Workers drill holes in the rock wall in which they plant powerful explosives. After that, you planting the explosives means putting the explosives. After you put the explosives, then you can blast them. So for safety, the workers have to position themselves behind the area they are blasting, maintaining a distance of at least 50 meters. Now in this one, let's have a look at both types of rock here. Which rocks they are talking about? Deeper down, the limestone is more pure, containing less of those minerals and more calcium carbonate. I told you that both types of rock can only come on once I have talked about two types of rock. And have I talked about two types of rock before this sentence? Yes. One, the limestone near the surface has a high content of minerals. Deeper down, the limestone is more pure. So one limestone with high content of minerals, another type of limestone containing mostly calcium carbonate. And both types of rock means the rock mentioned in these two sentences. And then after that, you can see there are workers putting the explosives, there is explosion. So explosion can happen only after you have put the explosives. That's why this is the order. So this is reorder paragraph. Before I move on to the next question, that is fill in the blanks. If you have any question about reorder paragraph, you can ask me right now. By the way, I think some of you are discussing in the Roman PT 79 Plus group about the video. Yeah, I'll put the video on our website tomorrow in the mock test section. Okay, or I will just give you the link as well. How important is it in terms of scoring? Yes, it's comparatively more important than multiple choice question. Here you get points for the correct pair. For example, for these two sentences, this guy will get 1 point. For these two sentences, will get another point. So this guy has got 3 sentences, one after the other in the right order, which means he will be getting 2 points. Okay, any new reorder paragraphs? Yes, we have added a few new reorder paragraph questions to the student portal. You just need to go to the reorder paragraph section. You will find some new sets there. You can practice more questions from student portal. Okay, now the next one is fill in the blanks. Let's go to fill in the blanks then. Okay, I'll quickly explain these questions here. Okay, someone is asking me a question here. If in multiple choice questions, multiple right answer, if I'm choosing just one option, will I be able to get 79 plus or not? You get 2 to 3 multiple choice, multiple right answer in these 3 questions. Let's say in one question you chose only one option because you are not sure, but in another one you were able to answer both the questions without a problem. Yes, you'll get 79 plus. But if most of the times you cannot choose more than one right option, that means you need to work a little harder, because you can get 79 plus. It's not that you can't, but if by any chance you make a mistake in fill in the blanks or fill in the blanks reading and writing, then it will be difficult. Otherwise, if you, let's say that fill in the blanks reading and writing, reorder paragraph, you have no problem at all. Even if you are choosing only one option, multiple choice, multiple right answer, you'll easily get 79 plus. But still, it may not be that easy to get all the questions right in the 3 questions types I mentioned. So I just suggest that you try to practice multiple choice, multiple right answer, especially for 79 plus. But again, after you have practiced the other 3 types of questions. How can someone improve his reading if he or she is stuck at 75? Okay, of course, by making sure that you know the right skills for doing these questions, which means you have to focus more on fill in the blanks and fill in the blanks reading and writing. I've seen that for most of the people who are stuck at a particular level of score in reading, their main problem is reading and writing fill in the blanks and fill in the blanks. So you need to know how to do these questions, which I'm going to explain right now. Okay, the life of a lab rat is not usually, and you can see that this guy has done all of these questions incorrectly. So let me tell you why the answers he has chosen are not the right answers. The life of a lab rat is not usually experiment. That does not make any sense. After is, am, are, was, where, either we talk about the professions or we talk about feelings. Most often, the life of a lab rat is not usually pleasant. That makes more sense than other. After is, you usually use a noun or an adjective. And pleasant is an adjective. Now, some of you perhaps are feeling a little bit confused right now because I just used the word adjective and maybe you do not know what is an adjective. By the way, if you want to get better score in fill in the blanks, yesterday I think even Gagan, who scored 79 plus recently, was telling you that if you know about parts of the speech, answering these questions become very easy. So I suggest that you learn about this. You can find more information about how to understand parts of a speech and how to use that understanding to answer the question in the fill in the blank section of the website. There are some tricks I have mentioned. You need to go through those tricks and you have to learn it, because without understanding the concept of parts of a speech, you will be simply guessing the answers, and that is not the right way to do this question. But once you know parts of a speech, it's very easy, because I told you that the answer here has to be a noun or an adjective. Because of that, I know the options like subject or bones will not be the right answer, because they will not make any sense here. Let's look at the second one. They are shocked, drugged, sliced, starved, and crippled in the name of furthering scientific understanding. But one group of German rats have had the good fortune of becoming of a study and tickling. Becoming a study and tickling. Becoming, and so that means whichever is this missing word here, it must be something the German rats can become and must be related to study as well. And what could be that word? Subject. Subject of a study is a collocation, means the topic. So you also need to know about the collocations in order to answer this question. Let's look at the third one. As well as deepening our understanding of the wiring of the mammal brain, the study's findings have implications for human, particularly with regards to human. So implications for human, something related to human. So the study's findings have implications, means possible results, possible influence for human, particularly with regards to the importance of human touch in forming social. So this means the answer for this is something we can form and that is related to social, and answer for this one is something related to human that can be related to touch. So think out of the given options here, which would make sense? Human psychology, because psychology can be related to human touch. How we feel is related to our psychology. And forming social, what can we form? Of which of these options can be related to social and something that we can form as well? That is bond. We can form bond, and we can say social bonds as well. So these are the answers. So how do we answer these questions? You look at the gap, you try to guess what could be the missing word. In order to think about that, you think grammatically first. That means grammatically, is this a noun, verb, adjective, or adverb? And if you feel like this is an adjective, then you think what adjective would complete the sentence here? What kind of sentence what kind of word the writer is intending to use? And that's how you pick up this. Okay, there is one question. Why cannot there be social experiment? Particularly with regards to the importance of human touch in forming social experiment. Now think yourself, human touch in forming social experiment means human touch can form social experiment. How can touch form social experiment? By touching someone, we can create bonds. Think about how a newborn child creates a bond with his mother. That's formation of a social bond through the touch. That's why the other words would not make sense here. Okay, now I'm going a little faster. Carbohydrates that are poorly by the small intestine. Poorly. Are and by means always verb 3. There are only two words in verb 3, absorbed and extracted. Absorbed by the small intestine, extracted by the small intestine. So which word do we use with intestines? Absorbed. When something they take out the nutrients from the food, we call that absorption. The second one, Malabsorption drags water into the intestines, which causes, so this is malabsorption, means it's a bad thing, and which causes means a bad thing must cause a bad result as well. So we need to find out something that can happen because of more water being in the intestine, and which is a bad thing as well. And if we look here, there are two that we can use, bloating or side effects. Which causes side effects? Which causes bloating? But think, this is something that is happening because food is staying in your intestine. Bloating is a sensation of being full. And so when you are not being able to digest the food you eat, you feel bloated, or it's like swelling of your intestine. That's why bloating is a better word compared to side effect, because side effect is a general word, which means any bad thing that happens because of something you did or something you took. Then third one, because these food molecules are not properly absorbed, they end up in the large intestines where bacteria that live in the gut feed on them and then produce gas. So anything that is produced as a result of something else happening there is called a byproduct, and that's why byproduct is the right answer here. And the last one, however, a diet low in food maps appears to this. 2 is followed by a verb 1, and you need a verb in the first form. You need a verb in first form, and you can see that there is only one verb here, that is alleviate, which means to reduce. And of course, you are taking a diet which is good for the situations like this, means it is supposed to reduce the problem. Okay, so just give me a second. I'll be back in 1 minute. So these are the answers. So more important thing here is not the answers, but the way you find these answers. Always make sure that you have read the paragraph and understood the intention of the writer. Look at the gap and try to think which could be the grammatical form of the word missing, and pick up the word which is in the right form. An example of this, when I look at this, I know this is something that can be done by small intestine. This is something that should be in the past form of the verb, right? And if that is the case, absorbed becomes the right answer, because this is in verb 3 form, as well as this is something that can be done by the small intestine. Many of you have made a mistake in this question, and I think most often the reason was because you were simply trying to answer the question by looking at the gap rather than by reading the passage and getting the idea. So next time when you are answering these questions, make sure that you are also reading the passage and getting the idea, and not simply answering the question by looking at the gap only. Okay, let's go to the next one. Researchers have discovered a well-heeled new millipede. Researchers have discovered it's a new millipede is a kind of insect with many small legs. You may have seen this kind of insects like this. We have these insects with multiple legs. We call them centipede and millipede. Pid means leg, milli means like millions, centi means like 100. So hundreds of legs centipede, millions of leg millipede. So they actually have a lot of legs. You may have seen them. So these are the examples of species. That's why species is the right answer. And the next one says, it also boasts 200 poison glands and 4 gonopers, the millipede of penises. So penises are the male reproductive organs. So millipedes have these organs, and so they don't have penis, but they only have something related to penis which looks like penis. That will be the equivalent, which means similar kind of structure. Then to defend itself from, you always defend yourself from something that can harm you. So that means it has to be a group of someone or something that can harm. And if we look at the option, the only word that has similar meaning is predators. Predators means those who kill others for food. It has 2 pairs of legs and almost every bodily segment. One weird thing about this species is that it is covered in hairs that a mucus silk. It's covered in hairs that a mucus silk, also likely for defense. So that means in hairs, this hairs does something really that leads to formation of mucus silk, and that will be secrete. Secrete is like releasing, to release, especially if someone's body releases liquid, we call that to secrete. For example, to secrete tears, and so on. Okay. For example, previous research has found songs on a running or workout playlist tend to athletes into a state. So we need a word that is a verb, and athletes into a state means this verb is followed by into as well. And you can see that into a state is, that's like changing from one state to another. So if you look at the words here which is in verb form, then you can see transport and motivate. Transport into a state, yes. Motivate into a state, no. We simply motivate somebody. We don't say motivate into. That's why that does not make sense. Which is when people are completely in. People are completely in what they are doing. So the sense here is lost, completely lost in what they are doing. And not just that, the sense must be similar to lost. The form of the verb should be past. Why? Because R is followed by either ing or verb 3 form. If it's passive, it's verb 3 form. That's the second clue. And it must be followed by in. So only word that has all these three characters is immersed. Then typically a workout playlist will start with warm-up and stretching music, and then to cardio songs. Starts with this, then changes to this or goes to this stage. So that means I need a word which gives a sense of going from one stage to another, and that is called transition. Transition can be used as a noun as well as a verb. And as a verb, it means to change from one stage to another, and that's why transition to. Another thing is transition also is followed by to. That's why it's making sense here. Then to cardio songs which gradually increase in. That means this must be something that can increase. Look at all of these things. Out of them, I think only two things can increase: activity and intensity. Now let's put both of them here, which gradually increase in activity, which gradually increase in intensity. Intensity means it's like strength. It's like the degree of something. And we are talking about exercise, and intensity is the word that makes sense here, because intense exercise would be like strong exercise, and that would make sense here. That's why that is the answer. Now in these questions we are supposed to choose 1 out of 4, but because this is the answer form, so I don't have the other options here. So these questions I'm not going to explain, but I will tell you some important things about these questions. In these questions, 1 out of 4 option is correct. And what do you do to choose these options? There are a couple of tricks you can use. First is always read the sentence containing the gap and think whether you need positive word or negative word. If you think that all the options are positive or negative, then in that case, try to see around the gap so that if there are any clues related to collocation, you can use them. Otherwise, just pick a word that makes sense in the given context. If you see that there are two options with similar meaning, similar pronunciation, or similar spelling, then one of them has higher chances of being the right answer. This question is more important and more difficult than fill in the blanks. The reason for that is, first, it affects your score in writing as well, and second, the question is more difficult and confusing than fill in the blanks. Grammar is less useful in this question compared to fill in the blanks, because most often all the options will be in the same grammatical form. Practice these questions as many times as you can and as many of them as you can, because here the most important skill you require is vocabulary, which can increase with practice. So as I said, we'll not be discussing this one. Maybe in our next discussion, we'll look into fill in the blanks reading and writing as well. I'm going to listening. Now about the listening, as I told you, I will not be going into the details, but there are a couple of things I must mention here. The first is most of you are making mistake in spelling in listening, which is something I have emphasized so many times in the class. Your spelling has to be correct, otherwise your listening score will suffer. And what kind of spelling mistakes you are mostly making? First kind of spelling mistake that you are making is typing errors, which is a very common one. And the second, surprisingly, is confusion between American and British English. Many of you are writing American English and British English in the same answer in summarized spoken text, for example. And not just in summarized spoken text, also in dictation. You need to be careful about that. Otherwise, even if your listening skill is very good, you'll not get the points. So a common mistake that you are making is usually in summarized spoken text and dictation. Fill in the blanks, most of you are doing quite well. In fill in the blanks, most of you have answered the question correctly. Even the spelling is correct, maybe because you are more careful there. But in summarized spoken text, almost everyone has made one typing error. And some of you have also written the British form of the spelling, although in the rest of the places you are using American English or American form of the spelling despite using British English. So how can you get rid of this? I think tonight I will send you a video in Facebook Messenger group about the difference between British and American spelling. Have a look at that video, and next time while you are writing, make sure that you are consistently following only one type of English. You spend 5-10 minutes learning this skill, and make sure that in the next test you will not be making this kind of mistake. Okay, so I'm not going into the details of listening today, but I'm waiting for your questions about speaking and reading mostly. Writing and listening will be discussing in more detail in our next webinar after our next mock test coming week. But for today's discussion, I want you to ask me some questions about speaking and reading, especially focusing on the questions we discussed. Any questions? Okay, someone has asked a question here. Where the mock tests are conducted. Okay, our mock tests are conducted in our center, and if you are an enrolled student, you can just come for the mock test in the morning or evening and do it there. Is the British English or American English going to impact on every section? Only on those sections where you need to write something. For example, in AC, in summarized written text, summarized spoken text, and dictation, and fill in the blanks. In these 5 questions, you have to follow only one type of English in one question, which means, let's say that in fill in the blanks, in the first question, you only use British English, and the second question, you only use American English, that's fine. But in the first question itself, there are 5 gaps. 3 gaps you have used British English, 2 gaps you have used American English. You will not get points for the last 2 gaps. Another is, if we want to practice fill in the blanks, do we have to practice only question or read something else as well? That's a good question. If you want to improve your skill in fill in the blanks, just practicing the question is not enough. You have to learn about homophones and commonly misspelled words as well. You can find the list of homophones and commonly misspelled words asked in your test in the listening fill in the blank section of our website. You can download it from there or copy it from there. If you read these 2 documents, then it will be easier for you to answer this question, because most of the questions are based on these 2 things, homophones and commonly misspelled words. Does using backspace button decrease the score for spelling? I think I discussed this in the class. Maybe you were not there. No, it does not. Backspace has nothing to do with your score. I know why most people ask this question, because on YouTube there is a video where someone has said, like, if you use backspace you don't get a score in the spelling. But those of you who have attended my class perhaps have seen me typing, and you know that I make a lot of mistakes and I use backspace all the time. And if this thing had been true, my score in the spelling perhaps would be 0. So this is not true. This is not true. If you have made a mistake, use backspace. That's why backspace is there, to correct your mistake. Submitting a wrong answer is a problem. Making a mistake and correcting your answer before the submission is never a problem. Computer can only analyze what you have submitted, not what you were doing while writing the answer. It's not recording your keystrokes. Only after your time is over, whatever you have written is saved there. Anything you do before your time is over or before you submit your answer is not analyzed by the computer. So you don't need to worry about this. This advice given by someone on YouTube is completely wrong, and you don't need to worry about it. Okay, the next question is, same mock which we discuss on next webinar, is this in student portal for online students? Yes, the mock tests are on the student portal. You just need to go inside the mock test tab, and if you are not sure which mock test we are doing in the class, then simply ask Akash and he will tell you which number we are doing, and you can do the same one, so that when we discuss, it will be easier for you to understand what I'm explaining. So in our next mock test, as I told you, we'll be focusing more on writing and listening, especially on listening than on writing. And from reading, we'll be focusing on reading and writing, fill in the blanks in the next discussion. Okay, now this is an important, interesting, and a good question. How should we manage time for our study? Because we have so many things to do, and whenever we try to practice one section of PTE, then we completely get lost in that, and we don't have enough time to do others, and then we need to learn grammar and vocabulary as well. So how to manage time? It's a very important question, and the answer is unfortunately not that simple, because there are so many factors involved here, because your own tendency of learning, how much time you can put in practice, how many things you already know. But I think the best way to practice these things would be like, don't start just practicing the question. Before you start your practice, first make a list of questions you are going to do. Like how many questions you need to practice, how many things you need to do before your test, especially for your target score. For example, if you want 79 plus, what are the things you must do before your next test? Where are these things on student portal, and how many times you should do them? And once you have that information, then find out how much time you will be able to spend on each on these things each day. And once you have information about that, you can create a routine for yourself and stick to that. Some people find it more comfortable to do one task at a time, like only speaking or reading. Some people want to do it in a mixed way. So you can think about that as well. And that's the reason why we have created this service of creating personalized routine. I don't know how many of you know this, but we do create personalized routine for you for your study, which you can get from me. I can print it out for you and give it to you. So in this routine, what I usually do is I list all the questions you are supposed to do for your target score and what question you should be practicing each day. So I have done this. I have created this routine for 10 days. And in 10 days, you'll be able to cover all the important things at least once. And then you can simply repeat the same thing. So if you need this routine, just contact me and I'll send it to you. Yeah, someone is asking for routine here. Before I send you the routine, I need a few more information from your side as well. And that would include, just send me a message privately through our website. You know that on our website in the chat, there is a chat box and you can send us a message from there. Just include a few information such as, tell me about your target score. Also tell me about when are you sitting for your next test and how many days a week you can study and how many hours every day you can study. If you give me this much information, then I can create the routine, because the routine that I have created for 10 days, that assumes that you'd be spending at least 4 to 5 hours every day. But let's say that you can spend 10 hours, then I can actually modify the routine accordingly. Or if let's say that you can spend only 2 hours extra outside the class, then maybe I need to span out the routine to cover more days. So just tell me about these things that I just told you. I will just write it here so that you can use it as a reference. I need the information about your target score, then test it, then how many days a week you can study, and how many hours every day. If I have this much information, then I can create a routine for you. So just send me a message using the chat box on the website, including these 4 pieces of information, and I'll create a routine and send it to your email or send it to the same message. All right, so I guess we were able to discuss some important things in today's webinar. If there is any final question you want to ask, please go ahead. Otherwise, you can ask me anytime using the chat box on our website or using the Facebook Messenger, using the 79 Plus group, or you can simply call me or message me. If there is any problem, let me know. And another thing is, when you are watching YouTube videos and hearing some strange information, make sure that you have verified that information with me, because I know almost 90% of the information given on YouTube are outright wrong and misleading. Before you make your next mistake and put your future in risk, please consult me. All right, I think everything else is fine. You guys are doing well, I guess. Keep practicing and enjoy the weekend. I'll see you in the class on Monday.